All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Blazers Uprise post-game show. The Blazers actually win today. Can you believe it? Um, Crazy game, just absolute meltdown by the Minnesota Timberwolves, 19.5 point favorites. And before we get into this game, let's thank our sponsor. Bet Online is your place for all your gambling needs. Use code BLEAV for 50% rewards. The Blazers were 19.5 point underdogs in this one of the biggest spreads in over almost 20, 30 years to have a team outright lose. So you could have made a ton of money if you bet on Portland to win on the money line. So hashtag fade the Blazers did not work today, but we have the NCAA championship between UConn and San Diego State tomorrow. We have NBA playoffs coming up. Still 4 more Blazer games. We got the Masters. If you bet on golf, that's a lot of gambling addicts love betting on golf. So yeah, use that code BLEAV on Bet Online. You can get 50% rewards. So appreciate you supporting our sponsor. Thank you so much. All right, let's get into this game, man. Crazy win. Hopefully this doesn't end up hurting the Blazers overall in the standings. They're still a half a game in 5th spot. The Orlando Magic play the Detroit Pistons here today, so hopefully they beat them. So yeah, if it costs us the 5th seed when all is said and done, or the 5th best lottery odds, it'll be a pretty tough pill to swallow. But overall, I mean, I'm not too worried about this game costing them that. It does make it so they probably need to lose that San Antonio game. So that would be 2 wins that we weren't expecting. We were only expecting maybe 1, so they probably need to win or lose out here these last 4 games. They played Tuesday in Memphis, I believe. Thursday in San Antonio, and then they go to the Clippers Saturday, and in the season with the Warriors at home on Sunday. And yeah, as Jesse points out in chat, they may need to sit Sharp down at some point because that guy absolutely took over at the end, and Minnesota could not stop him. And it's cool to see Sharp do that, especially some of his drives finishes over Gobert. He had one in the first half where he tried to absolutely end his life, but they I don't know if he got fouled. I never saw a good replay of it. I don't know if Gobert got ball or not. But just the fact that we're actually talking about sitting Sharp is crazy because he might be too good. And that's insane. But at the same time, I definitely want to see Sharp play, man. This is fun. Him going head-to-head with Anthony Edwards and making all the big plays down the stretch. Like just putting this team on his back, and then you got some contributions from a lot of other guys. I felt like Skylar Mays had an excellent game, and yeah, he's looking like a legit NBA point guard type player. Nate Williams had a rough beginning to his career. He tried to finish several shots inside that he could probably finish in the G League, but you're not going to get those kind of shots in the NBA. And they settled down and had 2 big buckets in the 4th quarter, a 3, and actually had 3 big buckets because he had one on a drive where Karl Anthony Towns just forgot that he was the center and he needed to protect the rim, and he just had a wide open lane, and then he had a nice finish in traffic. But yeah, so I liked his hustle and energy. He looked very nervous out there. But yeah, overall, this team just didn't give up, and they outworked Minnesota today, and Minnesota just looked lethargic and I don't know if it's just they expected to win this game easy, so they just took their foot off the gas. Um, but yeah, definitely was a game that Portland won sheerly because they just kept sticking around, kept making the hustle plays, and outside of maybe Kyle Anderson, outside his last shot to tie it, he was really one of the only Wolves players that was really hustling out there and giving their all. Everyone else seemed pretty lazy out there. So yeah, a really gutsy win by the young Blazers, and it's hard to get mad at the players. I mean, they're not going to quit. Most of these guys are playing for spots next season in the NBA, trying to prove themselves as NBA players. So yeah, I like the effort, and I'm never gonna get mad at that. Would have maybe liked if that last pass was ruled over out of bounds off us, even though it wasn't. Or maybe just throw that away. But outside of that, like we're not gonna tell players to miss or throw the ball out of bounds or commit a turnover or something. And Minnesota wasn't doing anything anyway, so uh, I can't really uh, I can't really blame the Blazers for taking this win when Minnesota played like absolute garbage. Um, Dogging him per 36 says acknowledge G Nathan. I already did. I don't know. And so yeah, what I saw someone say settle a debate for me in chat earlier. I didn't know what you guys were debating. But yeah, he wants to be called Nate, not Jonathan. So we're gonna call him Nate because that's what he wants. So yeah, kind of an interesting. You want me to do it again? Do you just want me to keep doing it? Um, so yeah, Tori had some plans today. Was unable to make it to the stream, so I appreciate him letting me solo this one, and I appreciate all of you for watching. Uh, if or when I do solo streams, I like to interact with chat a lot. So yeah, feel free to ask questions and give your input on anything we're talking about, because I rely on you guys to keep the conversation going since I don't have someone else to like shoot back off of. So Gray Hughes, what's up, man? He says I like Knox's length, great looking shot, aggression. Yeah, so the Blazers are kind of stuck in this spot though, where so they have like Knox and Reddish and Watford, players like that who are all showing some definite NBA skill on the offensive end. The problem is none of those guys are showing like this promise on the defensive end, and we need those wings to be better on the offensive end, not the defensive end, and that's so yeah, like great game from Knox offensively. Um, I'm just curious like how it fits in, because like we don't really need our forwards to be good scorers and bad defenders. Like so, it's just tough to see it going forward. Where, like how much can those guys be a part of the team if our defense is last or close to last in the NBA with them on the floor with our normal bad defenders, and then yeah. So I mean, obviously, if you can score the ball like Knox can, it allows you to stick around a long time in the NBA. So, if anything, maybe he's improving his trade value this summer. And he's got a team option for $3 million, $3 million for next year that the Blazers could pick up. So yeah, he's not a bad bench player to have. So, yeah, I'm just worried that like these guys are showing scoring, but we don't really need scoring. Yeah. Aiden says, can you explain the G League to me and why some players get drafted and some get signed? I'm confused. So the problem with the G League is there's now two teams. Portland's one of them that doesn't have a G League team. So it's a little weird as a Blazer fan to talk about the G League, because anytime we have players down there and send them down there, they're always working with someone else's organization. So like we sent Greg Brown earlier in the year to the Clippers, and so they're working with their coaches, and they have priorities with players that are under contract with them and stuff. So I think I really wish I haven't seen anything about this in the new CBA, which I'm kind of surprised about. Is the fact that the G League should have been treated as like a minor league team. I think they should have forced the remaining two teams to have one, and then you could have had it be like a true minor league team season. But so the weird part about the G League is they have so like a lot of the players teams, like let's just say like you're talking about the Warriors, so they have their Santa Cruz or whatever G League team, and then so they have players under contract, or they have the rights to them on the team, but they also have some players that are just signed to be on the team. So it's just like a weird mix of players. Some of them are on actual rosters. Some of them teams own the rights to, but just are keeping in the G League for now. There's two-way players and all that stuff. But for the most part, all the rest of the players are free agents that any team can just sign. And I think Skylar Mays, if I'm not mistaken, was playing for Mexico City, which was like an independent. I don't think they have anyone on an actual G League roster. I mean, on an NBA roster. But yeah, story for this game. There's two players for the Blazers that just were super. Well, actually three if you include Kevin Knox. So we already talked about Knox. Skylar Mays, man, he had a great game, including a finish that was really impressive on a fast break over Rudy Gobert with the left hand. I don't know if, like on a non-tanking team, I don't know if Skylar Mays is like a rotation point guard, but he's certainly looking like a emergency third guard, like super safe, can set up the offense, can make some plays, can hit some shots, can pass the ball, move around, set up the offense. As Sven says, Skylar is so much better than Brandon Williams, and it's a night and day difference, man, because Brandon Williams came in and just everything was just a shot, and like he was inefficient and undersized, and everyone, he just kept like shooting a lot. And you can tell Skylar Mays, there was several times in the last couple games where he didn't even want to shoot the ball. He was like looking to pass, and Mind Over Matter says a scoring guard versus a true point guard who can score. That's a good differentiation. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but so I think Skylar Mays is good. Now for the Blazers, I mean, obviously they could elect to sign him to the roster. He has one more year of eligibility as a two-way. In the new collective bargaining agreement, there's now going to be 3 two-way spots. So I don't know if he'd sign that, or if he's going to play well enough to get a shot either on the main roster for the Blazers, or like with another team could sign him as well, because he'll be an unrestricted free agent unless the Blazers do something with him in these next few days. Like Nate Williams, I guess, signed a 2-year contract, so he's not only signed for this year, but they have a non-guaranteed contract for him next year, which means they can have him in the system all summer, have him play on the summer league team, which is getting pretty stacked at this point, and then they can elect to keep him, or they can just cut him, and that doesn't cost anything towards their cap next year. So I wouldn't be surprised with the way he's playing if they did something similar with him, But the problem is, if you do that, you have to cut someone else right now, and I don't know if they're going to be willing to do that. So yeah, we'll see. They cut Ryan Arcidiacono. I'm not sure who else they would cut right now if they did that. So I don't know if they'll do that or not. But yeah, I could definitely see him. He'd be the perfect two-way point guard in my opinion, because he doesn't have to play every game, but having him on the roster in case like Anthony, if he's still on the team, and Dame, like if that's still our backcourt and one of them has to miss a game and we don't have our backup point guard in that role, I think that kind of situation would be perfect for him, because he'd only be eligible for 50 games, so you just wait till there's an injury or minutes for him, and then you suit him up. Yeah, so I don't know if he'd be willing to sign a two-way contract, but that might be one of the reasons why they're not signing him right now, is because they want to use him as a two-way. Or, I mean, these guys, like last year, we saw a bunch of guys in and out of the lineup. We already talked about Brandon Williams. We saw a ton of these type of guys on the team at the end of last year, and other than Drew Eubanks, none of them really stuck around. So I think he's proven, though, that he can really handle an offense, and I think Chauncey's going to like that in him, and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to keep him moving forward. But yeah, let's move on to Shaedon Sharpe, man, because I see a lot of people talking about him in chat. Sharpe is amazing, man. Just to see the way he's doing things. Got off to kind of a slow start in this game, but down the stretch, it's him going against a defense completely keyed on stopping him. And I think he scored 6 straight points at one point. Just finishing in traffic around Gobert, getting to the free throw line, drawing fouls, coming off the pick and roll. Just the type of game he's showing. Just going right at some of the best defenders on their team. It's just really, really nice. And then, as Max Reset says in chat, his passing has really improved. He had some really nice passes in this game. Outside of I think he only had the one turnover, right, where he got stripped in the backcourt by Anthony Edwards, which was bad. But, I totally don't mind that. Totally don't mind him taking over and doing that. So yeah, it's like it was like a weird mix of emotions in this game. Like I didn't know what to feel, because like I love that Sharpe was taking over, and to see him do this at the end of his rookie season is just amazing, and it was so fun to watch. It's been the bright spot of this tank job, is that he's gotten to start and just become the man. You know, I still don't know if that's going to be like something he can just immediately keep doing next year. I mean, like a lot of this we saw, different defenses, the way they played him. I mean, once you get a scouting report on yourself, like you then have a bunch of things you can do. Like he's still young. I don't think we have to force him into that right now. Man, this guy is just taking over games. It's crazy. Who's Murray, man? Why are you tagging me on stuff while we're streaming? Just kidding. Anyways, so Sharpe, I mean, he's got all the tools to be a star. He's got all the tools. He's got athleticism, elite athleticism. He's got just a really good temperament on the floor. He has he's showing an ability to play make a little bit out of the pick and roll, um, and that's something that he like. I think I don't want to speak for Torrey, but uh, like we're a little worried about his passing earlier in the season. Like his assist and passing numbers looked horrible. So just to see that progression in his rookie season, going from um, someone who like you were wondering if he's like kind of a black hole, not not a good passer type, and if he'll just be like a scoring type player his whole career, to now looking like a legit playmaking two guard who can handle the ball a little bit. And I mean, like I said, outside of that getting stripped, I know he had 7 turnovers. I don't know if that was last game or the game before, but like once he cleans up his dribble a little bit, man, this guy's the limit. And his ability to just hang in the air and switch hands. He had that one, like, I don't know if you guys know how insane it is to go up for a right-handed lay-in over a 7-footer like Gobert, and then switch hands to your left and finish with your left on the right-hand side of the hoop is just crazy. Like, yeah, as Mike says, if he gets his handle, man, it's over. Like, because he can do everything. He can pull up. He had like a Dame logo three today that rimmed in and out. He can get a shot off pretty much over anyone on the perimeter, mid range too. Um, yeah, so I'm really excited about Sharp. I saw DJ Vega ask earlier if he could start at the 3 next year. Um, I've been saying this for a while, man. I think he kind of plays like a 3, and I know people are gonna be, um, starting a guard at the 3. I know that makes a lot of people nervous, um, but like the whole thing is going to be defense. So I don't think you have to pigeonhole him into a certain thing. But if he starts at the 3, he has to he has to become like pretty much a lockdown defender, and um, I believe he has the tools to be a lockdown defender. I think he can. It's just it always comes down to want with athletic players. If they want to do it and put in the time to be a good defender, I believe they can do it. So I'm not worried about it. I think he can. I just I don't think we have to force it. So like if he is so good over the summer and next season, I mean he might be too good to play summer league at this point. So yeah, he might not even play that. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that, because if they make it to where it's like a learning experience for him and he's doing different things, that's one thing. And then, but like a lot of times with those players that are good their rookie year, I mean they're kind of above summer league. So I don't know if he's going to risk it. We saw him get injured in summer league last year after 6 minutes. That was the most disappointing part of the entire summer, outside of not doing much with the roster. Excuse me. But yeah, maybe if we get a high draft pick, maybe he plays a couple games, just to see how those two play together. Yeah, as Trevor Williams says, I could see him playing 1 or 2 games and done. Yeah, that's how a lot of teams do that. It'd be good to like have him practice. The other thing is, uh, I think I think they're gonna show it's gonna show his work ethic. So like if he's sticking around Portland, or if he's maybe Dame can convince him to work with Phil Beckner this summer. Um, yeah, so I'm really curious to see how Sharp approaches this summer, because if he's able to play, we know that injury, zapped a couple months from his summer. Um, uh, that injury from summer league. But yeah, like I hope he just like becomes like a guy who just works on his game and is just like insane gym work ethic type player. Because that's what separated Kobe. And I saw the comparisons to Kobe in chat. Uh, like he definitely uh, has some of those characteristics, but to be a Kobe, you have to have the work ethic. And Kobe's work ethic was legendary. Just like getting up super early in the morning. It's not necessarily that you have to get up early in the morning to prove anything, but yeah, just get work on the things you do. Because like if he shows up next year, or summer league or whatever after a couple months, because our season's going to end April 9th here, and then we summer league is like the like a week into July. So that's 3 months that you could see some sort of progression. So, yeah, like take a little time off, enjoy yourself, celebrate your rookie year, but then get right back into the lab and work on your game. And I really, really hope we see that, because I think that'll be fun. To me, that's the only thing that could possibly hold him back at this point is if he if he kind of relaxes on his work ethic and doesn't work hard. But I mean, everything I've heard is that he is like that. He does work extremely hard, and he does, love the game of basketball and playing, and that's all he likes to do. So, yeah, I think I think the sky's the limit for him as long as he has that work ethic. So, um, Mike Ferguson Sharp can be a better Anthony Edwards because he's not cocky at all. Yeah, I mean, he's a lot like early Dame, where he just does his job, plays the game. Like he'll kind of admire his dunk sometimes, but yeah, I mean, it. This is what I'm talking about though. Like with Anthony Edwards too, it's like if you become a good defender with that athleticism, um, like you have a chance to be uh, you have the chance to be an elite player. So yeah, sky's the limit for both those guys. Yep. Everyone on our team hates to celebrate Dame, Sharp, Ant, etc. Yeah, we do have a lot of similar type players to Dame, and I think that says a lot about the way Dame mentors those players too. Um, DJ Vega says, I'm not a fan of whoever his trainer is. I think he let Shaden get too comfortable with the carrying. He needs to work with Dame this offseason. Yeah, I absolutely agree. So, I don't know how many of you watched our offseason content last year, but there's actually a picture I posted um, where, because after the draft, Sharp tried to act like he hadn't met Dame yet or whatever. Um, and then um, the I found a picture of Dame working out with Phil Beckner with Shaden Sharp on the sidelines watching, and Sharp had posted some pictures on his Instagram earlier that day, um, working out in the same exact gym. And so, like I think that was a lie. I think they had been secretly, talking to each other and stuff all throughout the draft process from that date. And like I said, that was at Phil Beckner's gym or whatever that he trains at in Phoenix. So um, I wouldn't be surprised if Phil Beckner became if he became Sharp's trainer too, because I know he works with Anthony. He works with Mikal Bridges. That's why That's why Dame became friends with him. So I think that would be a crucial step to his development is to get with a good trainer like Phil, and then he can work out too with Dame and Ant and stuff this summer as well. I'll see if I can find it. It's been what, like 9 months since that picture, so yeah. Um, and yeah, so I'm really excited about that. Yeah, Blazers should just hire Phil Beckner. I know I don't know if he still works for the 76ers, but a couple years ago, he was hired as like a consultant. It wasn't an actual assistant coaching job, but he was hired by the 76ers to work with them. Um, but yeah. Guru Basketball says I like Sharp to go to more of a wing oriented workout sessions, not just guard stuff. But this is the thing though. I mean, he's got the wing ability, but if he had the guard handles and driving ability and passing, I mean, that's a star player, right? Like if you just continue working on the things he's already good at, yeah. I mean, yeah, of course, you want to do that, but um, it's not like I don't think it would hurt him to develop guard skills. I mean, he's bigger than those guys, so like it won't mean he has to be like them. Shout out to my guy Kieran for a $10 donation. Thank you so much. He says, "Sorry if I've been kind of annoying, unhinged recently. Recently, man. You're no, just kidding. I've always been kind of in a weird place. Anyway, I've been like super locked in on the draft, so I'm gonna have some more donos where I ask about guys. All right, cool. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about draft or whatever you want to talk about, I'm all game. But thank you so much for the donation, Kieran. Good to hear from you. And yeah, I know you get into it with people in chat. It's just the thing I don't like is when you like start calling people names and stuff. Just keep it about basketball, and we're fine. And I know we have this must be like his sixth or seventh burner in chat now. So yeah, we got the same guy who interrupts chat all the freaking time. But yeah, welcome back to the stream under a different name again. Um, yeah. J King asks, "Who do you want to pick with the Knicks pick, Eric?" I mean, it's too early in the process, man. I know like a bunch of guys that I like in that range. Obviously, um, the the whole Derek Lively thing. I think he's going to play himself into the top 20, but I think he would be a really good fit for the Blazers. I really like Leonard Miller, so I think he's a big forward. I think that's the kind of forward the Blazers need, an athletic big forward who can defend, rebound. I think he solves a lot of problems. Um, outside, if he ever becomes a little better shooter, like he'd be unstoppable. But I really like his defensive presence and his um, just his ability to impact games from the defensive end. Um, and then yeah, I mean I still like Chris Murray too. I really think I think his stats like went down this summer, and that's probably going to cost him a few spots. Uh, and uh, the thing is, I feel like watching him, he literally plays exactly like his brother, obviously because they're twins. But um, I I do think he's really capable, um, and I do think he'll have a similar type impact on whatever team he goes to uh, in the NBA. And I forgot who it was, but someone asked, "Does his recent play affect your view on him?" I mean, I thought Keegan was good too. So I think I think Keegan's really good. And yeah, it's always good to have those type of players, especially if Chris can knock down the three in the NBA like his brother. That's a really good asset to have. Tay Plays with a $2 donation. Thank you so much, Tay Plays. They say, can you go over the new CBA? Yeah, I mean, we can talk about a little bit on this show, but I think Tori and I will have some videos. Like, we're just hearing snippets about it. We haven't seen the full CBA yet, but we have seen a bunch of things. Looks like they're going to be really, uh, really coming down on teams that are just spending whatever it takes to win. Um, and there's looks like there's going to be all sorts of new rules that'll be cool, including ownership and uh, ability to advertise with gambling websites and things like that. Um, but yeah, I would love to have a more full breakdown. I saw one thing today where second round picks are now going to have an exception, a second round pick exception, so you don't have to use part of your mid level exception. All kinds of geeky stuff like that, and I think uh, it's gonna be really interesting to see. But yeah, there's also some different things with extensions being better. So like, if this was in place this year, we could have offered Jeremy Grant more money and stuff like that. But Trevor Williams says, "Are you saying unless someone free falls, the Blazers should target a 4 or 5 type player with the second first if they cannot trade it?" Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what we need. We need big size front court players. So uh, yeah, I mean, I don't like targeting certain positions or whatever, but there's enough of them in this draft, and I have high grades on enough of them to where one of them's got to slip. So yeah, no, Grant didn't lose money in this CBA. It's just the ability to re-sign him for more early, like now versus waiting till free agency is going to change. Yeah. Easy peasy says Maxwell Lewis would be nice with that Knicks pick. So you want another guard who can score and not play defense? See, I think those are the kind of guys I'm looking to avoid if I'm Portland. Now, other teams that make sense for, just like what I was talking earlier with like Knox and players like that, that might make sense for other teams. But yeah, Taylor Hendricks would be perfect, but I have a feeling he's going to be like 10, around 10. So unless we fall to 8 or 9 in the draft lottery, I don't think Taylor Hendricks is going to be a legit option for us because I don't think you can take him at like 5 or 6. But I don't think he's going to last till 10:30 either. So, or till 23 either. I don't know why I said 10:30. Um, yeah. Mike first was like Bradley from San Diego State as our backup point guard if we don't re-sign Skyler. I don't know. Bradley's okay. Um, I mean, I think he'll maybe get like a 2-way or something, but I don't know if he's like that good to play in the NBA. But yeah, he's kind of a fringe second round pick. Shout out to Kieran for another $10 donation. Thank you so much, Kieran. Appreciate it, man. In your scouting process, how much do you listen to like other scouts podcasts for additional insight? I know you guys do your own scouting, but I'm just wondering if you value that kind of stuff as well. Um, so this is my process. I like to avoid as much scouting podcasts and highlight videos and just like people's opinions on certain players as much as possible. obviously you look at mock drafts and things like that, so you have a pretty good understanding where a lot of those people have players rated, and then you also have to look at them to know like which games you should be watching and stuff. But I like to personally, so like I'll see like Taylor Hendricks, right? So I don't watch the video when I see someone posting a video about Taylor Hendricks, but what I do is then I'll load, I'll go into my DVR and find Central Florida games. And so I end up recording like 10 Central Florida games this year or whatever. And then just go through and watch, like I like to watch full games versus highlights or scouting videos. So that's my process. So I'll just like go through, or I'll like, with Xfinity now they have like this thing where it's like you just go to the college basketball section and it tells you all the games that are on TV that week. So I can literally just go through the whole schedule in a few minutes and be like, okay, UCLA is playing tonight. Like, I'm going to record that so I can watch, like, Jalen Clark and Adam Bona and Bailey and stuff like that. So, and then, so I ended up watching a lot of Hendricks this year. I watched a lot of Deron Holmes is one of my favorite center prospects. And then he was at Dayton. The year Obi was at Dayton, I ended up watching like every single Dayton game because I loved watching Obi in college. And unfortunately, that team got ruined by the tournament going away that year because of COVID. But yeah. But yeah, so what I'll do is that, and then after I form like my opinion, I'll take notes and stuff on certain prospects, and then I'll go then, like, if I want to see like what other people are watching, then I'll start watching some of the scouting videos and see like how my things compare, see if I missed anything, see if my scouting was good, if it's like spot on with other people. So that's just kind of my process with that. And then, but yeah, so now I'm stuck at this point where there's no more games on, but I have like a bunch of them still in my DVR. So now I got to go through, Blazer season's only a week from today is ending. So after a week from now, I'll have a lot more time to watch full games. And there's also, I noticed a lot of players have, on YouTube, you can watch basically games without any of the in between. So you can watch like full games in like basically 30 minutes or whatever. So, pretty fun to do that. Eric Olson asks, Gigi Jackson in your lottery? Gigi's so tough, man. I watched way too many South Carolina games. Absolutely disgusting team to watch. They're so terrible, and I hated every minute of watching that. But Gigi's weird, man. He just turned 18 in November, so like really young, super young. He'll probably be the youngest person in the draft if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, just doesn't have a real good team around him to know if. It's kind of like Sharp earlier in the year, right? Like, it looked like he couldn't pass at all, and then all of a sudden he got a chance at playmaking and being more of a point guard, and he showed that he did have that ability. So, like, I don't know if it was just the offense there or what, but yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I could definitely see him being good in the NBA. I think he's probably like 2 or 3 years away. So a team like Portland, I know they took a chance on upside with Sharp. So like if he's there at 23, you get a 6'8" wing that can do what he can. I think you have to consider it, but I also feel like Portland's kind of stuck in the situation with Dame that they can't really keep doing that too many times. So yeah. Gray Hughes says we need a Jerome Kersey slasher type that hustles and doesn't demand the ball. Yeah, absolutely agree. It Yeah, that would be nice. That's why I love Taylor Hendricks, because I feel like he's like that smart IQ, hustle, always in the right spot, can block shots, can get out on the break, and unlike Kersey, he can really hit the three. So um, that would be a perfect fit if we're not talking about like the high end guys. But I absolutely agree, and that's why I like Leonard Miller too, is because like I feel like he's like kind of a bigger version of Jerome Kersey. Um, I saw someone ask about Khalil Ware earlier. He's actually entered the transfer portal, and it doesn't look like he's going to declare for the draft, which is kind of surprising. But yeah, so he doesn't look like he's going to be an option for the Blazers. I saw AJ ask any potential undrafted centers we could get on a two-way from the draft. Uh, I don't really know about undrafted centers. Yeah, none really pop out right now to me. But I think the Blazers, because they kept Baji even though he was hurt, and kept John Butler all year, despite several opportunities they had to add a player that could have maybe helped them versus those two guys who weren't contributing at all to the main team. I think I'd be surprised if at least one of those two weren't on the team next year, and I have a feeling that's going to be Baji. So he must have shown enough through practices and things like that, um, to where, yeah, I think they're gonna try to. It'll probably just be a two-way again next year, but I think they'll definitely um, keep him there. Do you think Proctor should have declared? Yeah, I do. I mean, it's done. Like, I don't want to say he should have, because with NIL deals now, these second round picks can make just as much money, if not more, just staying in school. We saw Baycott's going back to UNC. Caleb Love is transferring, but he's staying in college. The guy I was really disappointed about was Mark Mitchell, because Gray Hughes mentioned that Jerome Kersey thing earlier. I think Mark Mitchell is going to be an excellent glue role player like that in the NBA. Hustle guy, knows his role, really good defender and stuff. Um, yeah, so I really think those guys. I mean, it's tough because they're gonna be fine. They're still gonna be, drafted next year and stuff. It'll make. I think what's happening is a lot of people uh, are thinking that this draft is kind of loaded, and next year's draft at this point is considered weak. I always hate the weak or draft argument, because I think every draft has certain things, but yeah. So I think there's going to be a lot of players that are kind of in that second round pick range that are going to stay in school, and we'll see. But yeah, I really would have liked Mark Mitchell with our second round pick. I think he would have been a really good addition too. Can't get enough of those role players. Um, if you had a question earlier, feel free to ask again. Can't go back too much. Boba asks, "Have you seen the rumor that Shaden is still growing?" Um, I mean, it's always possible to get a late growth spurt, but I mean, I I had people tell me that from the from his Kentucky year to the draft combine um, to training camp, he grew like 2 inches or something, and so they got measured, and he was the exact same height he was um, at the beginning of the season. So it's possible that he grew a little bit, but yeah, I don't really I'm not really worried about it. I I mean, it'd be nice if he grew, but um, yeah, I'm not gonna like count on that or whatever, but I think he's just playing bigger than he looks or whatever, or not looks, but like people think he's a guard, so he just looks bigger because he's got those long arms. So yeah, I don't know if he's growing or not, but we went through this with Anthony too, and yeah, the whole he's 6'5" now and stuff. So like I kind of cringe at some of that stuff. Um, but yeah. Um, do, do, do. All right, let me just kind of rapid fire some of these. Um, Bouquet has asked, "Are you concerned with Brandon Miller's low shot release point?" No, I'm not. Not one bit. Um, yeah, because I think he can pretty consistently hit from range and anywhere on the floor, and I think NBA range is going to be easy for him. Um, Anthony had a low release point too. I don't. I'm not worried about that at all. I have outside of off court stuff with Brandon Miller. I have zero concerns about his game. So I'm really high on him. My number matter says, have you seen rookies across the league impacting teams this much in prior years? Yeah, like I think that's more of a recent trend, heading back to, um, I'd say at least 2017. I just think people are ready to play, and especially with the one and done rule, which is another part of the CBA, they're keeping that. I think these players can just come in and help right away. And I hate the argument like we have to trade our pick because rookies can't help for several years. It's like, well, then we wouldn't have Sharp right now. So like, I just it drives me crazy because I see all these people just going crazy over Shaden Sharp, but they're the same people who are saying there's no way you can draft him at 7 and not trade that pick and all that stuff. So that I hate that argument. There are players that can help right away immediately. Look at Herb Jones last year for New Orleans. But yeah, that 2017 draft with Tatum and a bunch of those guys played well right away and helped teams win. Um, and even a guy like Zach Collins, who wasn't supposed to be good right away, ended up playing more than people probably thought he would his rookie year. Um, and then you got like Bam and Donovan Mitchell, who were good pretty much right away. Um, yeah, so I just think it's not a matter of draft picks can't help. It's that you have to hit on the picks. So if you make the right picks, I mean, I guess going back to Kawhi Leonard, Dame Lillard, I mean, those guys help teams almost immediately become much better. And so it's finding the right fits, finding a guy who's ready to play, and him having the opportunity to play, his skill set mixing with the players you have. That's why I like a guy like Leonard Miller, who still is kind of raw, has high upside, but I feel like some of his skill set would be good for what the Blazers need. Um, Blazer fan asks for my top 10 draft prospects. Seems like the draft kind of drops off after the seventh pick, similar to last season. Just off the top of my head, I got, obviously Wembenyama, Scoot, the Thompson twins, Brandon Miller, whatever order you want to put those in. Those are my top 5. And then Jarris Walker would be 6. Um, Let me bring it up. The rest. Hopefully Fanspo doesn't kill my Wi-Fi here. Come on. It's taking forever. I'll let that load and come back to. Okay, there it goes. So outside of that, the top 6 that I listed, I have Cam Whitmore definitely at 7. And then I have Hendricks 8. And then it's kind of weird because like I don't want the Blazers to take any of these guys, but I do really like Nick Smith Jr., Jet Howard, Keontae George. So those are my next three. So that's 11 right there, and then I have Leonard Miller at 12. Um, yeah. So and then like Lively, Dick, Gigi, Derek, all in that next tier up to 16. Um, and then that next tier has like Chris Murray, Anthony Black, Keyshawn Wallace, um, Ryan Rupert, Hood Shafino, Sensabaugh, those kind of guys. So I think it's pretty deep. It's just the problem is around 7 to 10 or 7 to 15 ish. There's a lot of players that are scoring guards, and we've already talked about several times on this show about the Blazers don't necessarily need shot creators or scorers now that they have several good ones. So it's kind of weird going into draft needing role players over those kind of players. So yeah, I wouldn't mind if they just took best player available, but yeah, a lot of the problem with the draft isn't that there's not talent in that range, like the 7 through 15. It's that a lot of them play positions that we don't necessarily need here in Portland. So that'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Um, let's see. Okay. Did my chat just freeze? That sucks. Trying to refresh chat. Yep, Fanspo killed my thing. Come on. Oh no, I'm not saying I froze or the chat froze. It froze for me on my computer. Yeah, so yeah, unfortunately. There it goes. Yay. All right. Am I going to the Nike Hoot Summit? Asked Maddie. No, I'm not able to go to those. I mean, I think you have to know someone to get into. Be cool though. I did hear Dame's interview with Dan Patrick. Yeah, I mean, he he says the same stuff he always says. He's going to use his leverage this summer to put pressure on the team to finally put some pieces around him. Um, yeah, so I I'm not worried about anything he says. I think it was just normal Dame stuff. Someone asked if I'm worried how negative Tori is. I no, because Tori's not that negative. So yeah, I love when I solo stream and people try to like start some beef between Tori and I. That's not there. Will Nick says, have you met any Blazers current or any stories? I don't think I've met or have any cool stories about current Blazers. All my stories involve a long time ago. So yeah, not recent Blazers. Um, Let me just keep going. Jackson asks, "Are we looking at Sharp as a 15 point per game player next year?" Um, yeah, I mean he is close to averaging 10. I think he just needed to keep this pace up the rest of the season, and he could get his average up to 10. Uh, so yeah, if they kind of feature him off the bench and he's playing enough minutes, I don't see why he couldn't be a 15 point per game scorer, and that's exactly what we need. Is someone who can get buckets off the bench and take some pressure off of Anthony if he's still in his role. So yeah, Um, Eric Olson asked, Miller made just 8 of his 41 field goal attempts in Alabama's 3 tournament games. Does this poor tournament showing affect your take on him? No. Um, I mean, obviously he didn't play well, but 3 games, small sample size. I'm not worried about it at all. Do, do, do. Who do I got winning the championship this year? I think if healthy, I think the Suns are going to be really tough to beat. Um, yeah, I think the Suns are going to be tough. But yeah, Bucks could definitely win. Um, Celtics haven't looked good recently, but I could definitely see them getting it together as well. There's several teams in the East that are good. But yeah, I don't know. Uh, G. Wilkers asked why Suns over Bucks or Celtics because they have insane ability to, like, when you have Durant and Booker. I mean, you can score on anyone, and their defense I think is good enough to it. But I mean, they still have to be healthy and prove that they can be healthy. But it's going to be. I just think they could come out of the East. I mean, out of the West, and I think teams like Denver and Memphis and stuff. They're really good regular season teams, but until they prove they can win in the playoffs, I just think they're going to struggle. But see, the problem is, uh, the East is going to be a crazy battle. That's going to be tough. So even if the Bucks come out of the East, they'll have had to beat like the Heat and then the Sixers and then the Celtics or something. So that's going to be really really tough for them, I think. So yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously, uh, Giannis, if Middleton can come back around, but yes. Who are the teams I'm cheering against hardest for free agency reasons? Like biggest flameouts? Well, it kind of depends because I saw this question earlier about Wemby, if we should trade the it was from Trevor. If the Blazers do not get the first pick, if you had to put a percent chance they trade that pick, I think it's 70% ish. I agree with that. If it's not one, I think it's very likely they trade it this year. Um, but uh, it has to be the right move. I don't think you have to trade it just to trade it. But if we get Wembanyama, like the whole offseason changed. So I know it's only a 10.5% chance. So if we keep the fifth seed, this win today may prevent that. Um, but yeah, if you get the one and you get Wembanyama, I don't think it matters what free agency happens. Obviously, you want to see the Sixers flame out early in the first or second round and have him beat Embiid out after Harden leaves or whatever. But who knows? Um, yeah. Um, I mean, if is Middleton maybe someone that could be available? I don't know if the Blazers would want him after if if the Bucks are ready to move on from him. Like, um, does it mean he's kind of not himself anymore? So I don't know if it really matters. But yeah, the Mavs flaming out, says D'Angelo. See, that would be interesting. But the if they flame out, it affects Kyrie. Uh, so yeah, who knows what they'll end up doing? But I don't really think that has too much of an effect on Portland's offseason. Um, I think maybe you want like Claxton and Dorian Finney-Smith to like really struggle down the stretch here. So the Nets like consider moving them. Maybe like it's more individual to me. Um, but yeah, I don't know because like even if the Clippers flame out, lose in the first round, or let's say they lose in the play-in or whatever again, um, I just I find it hard to believe Ballmer would just like rebuild with that new arena they're building and all that kind of stuff. So, like if you want the Clippers to flame out, so they trade Paul George and stuff, like I don't think those are realistic options. Um, yeah, there may be teams like the team we played tonight, the Blazers, Minnesota. Like, what the heck do you do if you're Minnesota, man? Like, they give up their entire future for Rudy Gobert, and then they, Cat. I mean, he's basically killing his trade value. Um, because like that guy, I said this on Twitter, but like, dude, I'm 43 years old. Like, I know a a big that has lost his mobility because I am that. Like, that guy plays like he is a 40-year-old uh, washed up big man now, and like he's still. I mean, he still's got that pretty jump shot, so he'll still be able to do some things as a scorer. But defensively, man, um, I just I don't know if they're ever going to be able to keep him uh, good enough, especially now playing the four instead of the five, because he can't. He's not quick enough to help on defense. And I mean, maybe it's just some of the lingering effects of his injury and he's just out of shape or whatever. But these were all questions before the injury, let alone now. Like, he just looked like he had put on some weight and just could not move out there. He just got blown by several times, um, not even by like quick guys. So yeah, I don't know what you do, and you just, I mean, you have Anthony Edwards, so you're fine ultimately. But do you trade him? I mean, so Parker asks, are you talking about Towns or Gobert? I'm talking about Karl Anthony Towns, but Gobert hasn't looked good all season either. Um, I mean, they mentioned on the broadcast that he has the same amount of blocks as Drew Eubanks this year, so that's been a disaster for them. Um, they made some good moves. They still have Jaden McDaniels, and they signed Slomo, who's got some good minutes for them. But now that they don't have many of their future picks or anything, like, unless you get really lucky and someone gives you somewhat close to value on Karl Anthony Towns, I think you're kind of stuck with him too, because I think he makes over 40 million if I'm not mistaken. So like, even a team like the Blazers, I don't know. I don't think it makes sense for them to trade like Anthony and Nurkic for Karl Anthony Towns when a year or two ago that would have been like, we would have had to give up a lot more than that in a trade. So I just I don't understand, or I don't know what I'd do if I was them. Obviously, I wouldn't have in hindsight made that trade, but yeah. Yep, all the I think all or there might have been one that was or protected, but I think almost all of them were unprotected. Yeah, well, Beasley and Vando were part of the Gobert trade, so yeah, they didn't get good value for them. What's up, Alex? Um, and but D'Lo, yeah, then they didn't really get anything for D'Lo. They got Conley, who's like another old old player, and he's helped them solidify things a little bit. But then now they've lost three straight and are on the outside looking in terms of just like a couple weeks ago they were looking like they were going to be in the top six and not have to play in the play in. Now they might not even make the play in. They're it's still pretty close, so it's anything can happen. But yeah, Karl Anthony Towns to Brooklyn. That'd be cool if if yeah, it's gonna take like a team like that really liking that. Yeah. Bailey Smith, are you talking about the Blazers getting Gobert? Because the Blazers have to match salary. Yeah, Reese has a good point. Losing Nas Reed hurts, but he's also a free agent, so he could leave for nothing this summer. They didn't trade him at the deadline, so that's going to be interesting too. If he's not back next year, how do they fill his spot? Um, I mean, if Rudy Gobert had a reasonable contract, I don't think he's terrible, but yeah, 40 plus million for him too, right? So, um, yeah, I don't think you can touch Gobert if you're other teams right now unless you're getting him for like um I mean, this doesn't make sense for Philly, but like they got Tobias Harris or something like that kind of trade, um, like a big contract like that. But um, if you're Minnesota, you can't just give him away either because of all the things you gave up to give him. Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if Nas Reed signs for the mid level somewhere, or if he gets a little more than that, or has to take less. I don't know. It's gonna be tough decision for him. Chris says at least the Magic are up 20. Yep, that's good. Bailey Smith says, "Can we sign and trade Jeremy if we trade Ant for less salary before the season?" Trading Ant wouldn't have any effect on signing and trading Jeremy, um, and in fact, nothing we do has any effect on it because a sign and trade would have to be him agreeing with another team that doesn't have cap space and needing us to then come to some sort of trade um, with that. So it doesn't work like the Blazers can't go into the offseason thinking they are going to sign and trade one of their own players. If you're talking about another team's free agent, then maybe you can talk about that. But yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, we're going to sign and trade trade Jeremy." But anyways, it doesn't affect our salary thing. Doesn't affect Jeremy going out in a sign and trade. Only players coming in from that trade. So we still have to match salary. Um, Nick Thompson says Knox could develop into a good player. He's only 23, and yes, could be trade bait later on. 3 million expiring cheap deal. I mean, okay. Uh, so I saw someone else to say to address Nick's question. Um, I mean, this is the tough part when we talk about players. Okay, it's not a negative thing. Knox has been good with what he's done since getting a chance, a week ago or so. Um, but again, he plays no defense. He's not good on defense. So uh, the Blazers need players. If we're specifically talking about this team, uh, that um, you know, we don't necessarily need someone that scores and doesn't play defense, and that's why we're concerned about Trent Watford. That's why we're concerned about Cam Reddish being retained. Um, so like, um, I understand like if you there's a lot of teams that need scoring forwards or whatever. So that's definitely a skill set, and like I said earlier in the show, that's going to keep him in the NBA for a while after it looked like maybe his career was headed towards maybe not sticking around the NBA. But I just don't know if that's going to be on the Blazers or not. Yeah, anyone talking about any kind of trade package that would involve us not getting the number one pick and then trading up to one is just a non-starter. It's not going to happen. I mean, the Blazers are one of the teams in the NBA that are most likely to trade the number one pick, and even that, I'd have a hard time believing that they actually go through and trade with that and not just take Wembanyama. So, yeah, the way a franchise or a city fan base would change if your team wins the number one pick this year is crazy. And so it's like the New Orleans year with Zion. I mean, they weren't going to trade the number one pick once they got it. Like, no team was. So, yeah, I just don't see. Alex, we talk about that literally like every stream. I mean, now might be a good time to talk about. Might be a good time to talk about Tankathon. Mike Aldridge with a $5 donation. Thank you, Mike. He says, give me 5 guys you would consider good value for Ant and Nurk. Thanks. Here's the problem. I don't think anyone you can trade those two for straight up is worth it. So the problem becomes is that player worth more assets? So obviously, if we get Embiid, we have to include both of those guys to make the salaries work for the most part. So, like Embiid, you'd want to do that for. But so like if you could trade Ant and Nurk for Gobert or Cat, I'm not doing that. I'm just those guys do not look good enough anymore. If, for example, Golden State is looking to trade Draymond this summer, maybe they're just done with him. They're going to look to relieve salary, not take back more salary. So we're like, that's probably a non-starter. Plus, Anthony doesn't really make sense for them. You know, maybe you can find a third team, but there's no players that you can just trade those two for and get back the right pieces you need, because there's no center that's available. Obviously, you need a center in that trade. So yeah, it's like I think you need to find their replacements and then maybe trade them individually. But yeah, Lakers aren't trading AD and Vando for Ant and Nurk. Bailey, come on, man. Like, get realistic with, like, when you suggest these trades, man, think about the other team. Why would the other team do that, Bailey? Come on, man. So yeah, I'm sorry I can't really answer your question fully, but I just because like I don't know, Ant and Nurk for Tobias Harris, like our team's worse, right? Like maybe if they gave up a ton of other picks or some I don't know, some other assets that made another trade possible. But yeah, I mean maybe you trade Ant, Nurk, and picks for like best case scenario you're getting like Mikal Bridges and someone there. I don't know, but Bailey, come on, man. Of course you would trade Ant, Naz, and Nurk for AD and Bando, but would the Lakers do that? If the Magic got Wemby, would you consider making a move for Wendell Carter? Yeah, sure. I like Wendell Carter. It's just Um, when we're talking about, your question was for Anthony and Nurk, like why would they want Nurk then, or why would they want Anthony? They are still have Suggs and Markel Fultz, who's been playing great, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, yeah, Cole Anthony. Yeah, AD looked like he was going to be out for a year the other night, and then like stayed in the game or came right back into the game. The row one asks, "Would you trade Lillard for D'Angelo Russell?" Yeah, man, for sure. I hope that was you making fun of someone else's trade package. Yeah, see, Mike, the problem is, um, without looking it up, I want to say Wendell Carter makes in like the $12 million range. Um, it's just so the Blazers are now stuck in a point where it's like, how do you get to those contracts? Like, obviously Nas makes like six something, so it's like Nas, you pick up Knox's option, and Keon, I guess, could match Wendell Carter. Um, Unless I'm wrong about his contract. Uh, and then, but I mean, they're not going to do that, so you have to add assets. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Doesn't make a lot of sense for them. I think they're going to be looking to consolidate, like trading two or three guys for one, versus just trading off individual players. But am I a fan of Mike Schmidt's? I mean, jury's still out. So far, he's been with the organization. He was picked up a few weeks before the draft, and then there was that weird thing where he was maybe going to stay with ESPN through the draft, but like, why did we hire him? Um, so yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, it's hard to argue with hitting on Sharp last year, and then um, the Jabari Walker pick for the second to last pick in the draft was good. Um, I don't know how much of these three new guys were his looking at players that he liked in previous drafts or whatever. Um, so, but I also this is where I'm at with Mike Schmitz. So stoked that he's part of the Blazers organization. I've loved some of his work he's done. It's one of the things we were talking about earlier when I scouted stuff. So I love like watching the player and then like forming my opinion on him, and then watching Mike's interview with him and getting a sense of the way he answered questions and his basketball IQ, stuff like that, that you can't necessarily see 100% on film. So I really like that kind of stuff. I really like all his draft work he did in the past. Um, but the problem is, if Dame wants an all-in move and we end up trading all those picks, like, do we even need someone like Mike Schmitz on the team? Like, so having him, I almost kind of want him to be allowed to at least, keep the light first and the second round pick, and find diamonds in the rough that way. Um, so yeah, we'll see on that, but yeah, I mean, obviously, as a draft guy, I love that we picked him up, and I think he's a good addition to any staff. I imagine he provides invaluable scouting and stuff, in when they're looking at even older players that he scouted, 5 to 10 years ago. He would still have notes on all those guys and stuff. So yeah, hopefully we utilize our two-way spots better in the future. Undrafted market, especially now that you'll be able to have three second round picks or 3 2-way contracts. Sorry, and yeah, so into the bench type of guys. Hopefully, like I don't know who Skylar May is, like who the main guy who vouched for Skylar to be signed, but uh, he's like those kind of players. You got to find them that do well, show some promise. Let Schmitz cook. Yeah, hopefully we let him cook in the draft. Yeah. I don't know, Wampet, but I would like them to clear out their assistant coaching staff. Maybe not all of them, but a certain couple people. I think maybe they should move on from, but we'll see. Vladimir says Simons to Orlando for Wendell Carter Jr. and a first, and draft a point guard, shooting guard with our top pick. I mean, I just mentioned Orlando already has a ton of guards, though. I don't know why they'd be giving up a first in that scenario, along with one of their only big men. I think it's more likely they just keep Wendell Carter in that situation. Ethan, we kind of talked about that earlier, but yeah, I think at worst he's looking like a sixth or seventh man, scorer off the bench. Um, I think he could average, somewhere between 13 and 16 if given the minutes. If he starts at the three, or if we trade Anthony and he starts at the two, obviously that'll go up more. But it is going to kind of depend on how good his work ethic is this summer. Maddie, they're not trading picks and stuff for Dame. Why would they trade? No problem, Ethan. Is there a reason we don't have a CBA team? Are you talking about G League, David? Because we don't have a G League team because our ownership's cheap. What is the highest draft pick you'd trade to get Hendricks? I don't, I don't know what you mean. Trade down. Well, I mean, it depends on like I don't. It depends on where we're picking and where that other team's picking. Because like if we get number one, I'm not turning down. Obviously, if we get number two, um, it would take a lot to move down to like 8 or 9 to to go down. So like maybe ask again once the lottery happens, so we know like what teams are in that range. Cause yeah, Taylor, no team's doing that. They're not moving down 3 spots for 3 future seconds. Sorry. Mind over matter says, how would you feel if he and Sharp's roles flipped? As Sharp is the new starting two playing 35 minutes, and Ant is the bench playing 27 to 30 minutes. Um, Here's my problem with that. Why? Like why? I, I don't understand why we're forcing this to happen. We can play Sharp minutes at the three. If he's good enough, we can put him at the three. We have him under contract for some more years, so it's he can play 30 minutes off the bench. I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves on uh, him being ready next season when defenses start keying on him, because Anthony went through this season, and like uh, I'm gonna like I think a lot of you are wrong about Anthony Simons. I think he's going to prove a lot of you wrong next year, and um, I mean, obviously, if they have to trade him this summer because they're in a situation where they don't have a lot of tradable contracts. So, um, yeah, I just it doesn't make us better defensively, and Anthony even struggling a lot this year, uh, still had very respectable numbers in terms of offensive efficiency and stuff. And um, I mean, people forget that this is his first year starting with Dame too, and that's something that a young player has to figure out how to do. CJ was given several years to figure that out. And I'm not saying that the Blazers can afford to give them several years, but I trust in Ant. I think his ability to shoot spaces the floor for Dame, and I think he provides a lot of positives. And if we trade Anthony just to start Sharp and he struggles next year mightily because defenses are all keyed on him, um, and he's still missing assignments defensively and stuff, um, I just don't see how that necessarily helps them like be a different or better team. They're still both playing a lot of minutes, and if Sharp is so good next year, then you, like I said, you might have had to trade Anthony anyway. But if they're both on the team. I just between Ant's ability to play point guard, Sharp's ability to play either the two or the three, in my opinion, I just don't understand why people, especially Blazer fans, who we need talent, we need both of them to be good. We need them both to be good. So I just don't understand why people want to force one of them over the other. It doesn't make sense. I don't even know, Tyler. That's the problem. What would I expect in return for Ant? It's not what I expect in return. It's that his only value this summer is, or the only reason he's going to be traded this summer, hypothetically, is to because we're getting a star and we have to match a contract, and his is the biggest contract we can trade outside of Dame. So that's the only reason he'd be traded this summer. So if we're trading Ant, we're not trading him just for to trade him or to get another player that's around the same level as him. We just keep Anthony in that situation. So the only way we're trading Anthony this summer is if we're getting a much better player. Now you can argue who's better than him, like let's say it's Mikal Bridges or whatever. Like Mikal's becoming a star now. It's going to take Ant and multiple picks. Like they're not just going to do Ant for Mikal straight up, you know. So yeah. See, I don't know. I don't think it makes sense to just. That's why I hate the people. It's the same thing that I was talking about earlier with the. You can't draft someone because it takes them 2 or 3 years to even contribute. Like, I hate the people who just say we have to trade Ant, we have to trade Nurk, we have to trade so and so, because, like, to me, you only trade players if it makes sense to trade them, and this organization loves Anthony Simons, and they're not going to give up on a 23-year-old with promise just because fans think he should be traded or whatever, especially when they're all under contract. But yeah, definitely if he's like if we get Embiid, we have to include Simons. There's no other way to make the money work. So, like if there's a trade like that, And also, Dame loves him too. So, yo, what I miss, says Tori. Not much. Garrett says, I'm disappointed in our win today. Yeah, I saw a lot of people come in talking about, no, we won. Um, yeah, so it was a fun game. The Blazers battled tough. It was cool seeing Sharp, score some buckets at the end to clinch the game. Um, so yeah, the way I'm looking at it, great if we have the fifth seed and these wins don't matter. Um, it's fine. If we lose the fifth best lottery odds because um, if we lose the we're just reading chat. If we end up losing the fifth lottery odds because we beat Minnesota and we win like the San Antonio game and maybe one other game because people are resting and it doesn't matter for seeding next weekend, um, it'll be crazy. But yeah. Maddie says it's literally so simple. One of two things will happen this summer: either Dame trading and team goes young, lottery picks builds along with Ant Sharp, or two, Ant traded and build around Lillard, Grant, etc. Okay, cool. Thanks for that simple information. Omar says we had Eubanks taking threes in the clutch minutes. This W is completely on the Wolves being. So yeah, I agree with that. Marcus, we talked about Chris Murray earlier in the stream too. But you're not hearing about him as much because Iowa actually did well last year up until the tourney. They suffered the same fate as his brother did, but a lot of that was just the team wasn't as good this year. So I think that generates a lot of buzz. Last year, I think they beat Purdue in the Big Ten championship or something, and they got a lot of stuff. Zach says, I don't know what the Wolves were supposed to do going forward. Yeah, I did talk about that for about 20 minutes earlier. Um, Byron Stringer says, what promise does Ant have? How is he any different than Maxi, Poole, or other six men? Well, one, he's much more efficient than Poole. Um, but, I mean, those guys are. Poole's only a sixth man because he is playing behind Curry and Thompson, but they're going to keep him around for the next generation. Or maybe they end up trading him. Who knows? Maxi actually really struggled as the sixth man, and then they put him back in the starting lineup. So I don't know how that's a different comparison. Maxi's really good, so wouldn't you want to have Ant be like Maxi? All good. I saw you had a question earlier. If you were to find a team that was able to take Nurk, so they'd have to have cap space, and you had the player you got back was less than like 8.4 million or whatever a trade exception exact number is, you theoretically could trade out Nurk and create, a 16, $17 million trade exception depending on what the actual number is. But yeah, uh, we'll see. who has a higher ceiling, Henderson or Simons? He's talking about Scoot. Obviously, Scoot has a higher ceiling as an NBA player, but I don't think he's going to be like better than Simons next year or anything. It'd be a clever idea, says All Good. Yes, but you still have to find the one or two teams that are able to take Nurkic to make that work, and that's really, really tough to pull off without having to overpay to get that team to take Nurk. But yeah. But also with like Scoot versus Simons, so like Scoot, what is his biggest weakness right now? He can't shoot, at least from outside. What is Anthony's biggest strength? Is 3-point shooting and 3-point efficiency. So, I mean, that's the difference. You need floor spacers in the NBA. You can't just have everyone be like on the ball, you know, take it to the hoop type players. So I think you guys are way underestimating Anthony's ability to have gravity and space the floor and how much that opens up the offense. And we were top 10 offense this year. It had nothing to do with that. And everyone blames the guards for the defense when literally every guard defender in the NBA would suck on defense if they were put in the positions that Dame and Ant are, in terms of having to guard the rim and always being on the bottom of the zone and that kind of stuff. So like, I just don't understand. Henderson's an okay defender. Like he has upside there for sure because he's big and strong. So yeah, if he does put in the work to be a good defender, um, oh man. See, Maddie, this is why your other accounts have been hidden, because all you do is just turn every freaking stream into this stupid Dame getting traded talk, and it's just so grating and annoying, man. It's frustrating. Yeah, just always someone else's fault, always someone else that started it, always something. You literally said we were going to for sure trade Dame or Ant, and you say the same crap every freaking stream, and you change your name, and then you say it's someone else that brings it up or whatever. It's so dumb, man. Spencer, you have a good night, man. Thanks for tuning in. Have fun watching WrestleMania. Zach, I'd probably put more stock in Scoot becoming a better perimeter defender just because I like his strength. He's built like uh, like a freight truck. He just looks enormous. So yeah, I, I I definitely um, do that. Elias, no, see, I left. I knew you left, so I wanted to wait till you came back. Elias with the $2 donation says, "What are your thoughts on cap amount of super maxes?" I think you mean them getting rid of the cap amount on super maxes. Uh, yeah, it's. I don't know if it'll really matter towards Portland, but it will. It will change a lot for teams like Cleveland Cavaliers. If Alex Wolf is still in here, they were going to be in a situation where they could have only offered a 4-year deal for Evan Mobley because they already had Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland on 5-year deals. So that's going to be something that the the Cavs and teams like that. Last summer, there was all those Durant trade talks, but they couldn't accept a 5-year contract back because they still had Kyrie and Ben Simmons. So that limited what they could do. So like things like that will change. But yeah, so it'll definitely help out some teams. I don't know if it'll really matter towards teams like Portland unless you know players like Sharp and Anthony all become stars, and Dame's still at the end of his career. Might matter for a year or two, but overall, I don't think it's going to matter too much. Mind Over Matter says, "Is it safe to say you guys don't think there is a realistic deal for Dame?" Yeah, I think that's pretty safe to say. Well, one, I wouldn't even explore deals for Dame. Um, but yeah, would I trade Grant for Finney Smith? No, I don't think I would. I mean, Finney Smith would be good to have, but I how is how is Brooklyn matching like a $30 million contract with a $12 million contract? So it depends on who else they gave up in that trade. Obviously, if we got Claxton or something in that deal too, I'd take it. But like, I'm not doing it for Dorian and uh, like Joe Harris or something like that. Yeah. AJ says 23rd for Finney Smith or Leonard Miller. Well, here's the problem again. You can't just trade the 23rd pick for Finney Smith. So you have to include other stuff. So what else is in that package? So that's the problem, is we're not. I'd probably just rather hypothetically uh, take a flyer on Leonard Miller in that situation, have him locked up for 4 years on a rookie contract for cheap as the 23rd pick. But I do think Finney Smith would be a good addition if there's a able. Yeah. And then shout out to Taylor Hibble, or Hibby, I don't know how to say the last name, who super chatted $1. Thank you so much. There was no message attached. So Taylor, if you did leave a message and it got held because of some of the language in it or something, if you want to just put your message in there, I'll see if I can read it. But thank you to everyone who donated today. Sharp just needs 5 more threes for 100, second most in Blazers history by a rookie. Um, um, Mike Ferg, I also talked about GG earlier in the stream. This polarizing player. Uh, but anyways, let's do Tankathon, because I'm sick of having the same conversations every stream. Tyler James says realistic ways to get rid of Nas and non-core players. I think just like those kind of trades. So like if you have like Nas, Knox, Keon, and like the 23rd pick, if that's what Brooklyn wanted for Dorian Finney-Smith, I think those are kind of realistic ways of getting rid of them. But I'm not sure if this organization wants to get rid of cheap contracts, even if they're non-core players. All right, so I don't have the ability to put it on the screen, but let's just bring this up. Is the Magic game still going? They're up 22 at the end of the third. All right, that's good. All right, so Portland still in fifth all alone. They'll be a game up on both Orlando and Indiana, assuming Orlando doesn't blow this lead. One game in the win column, which is the most important thing. So lose out, we're good. 4 games left. Lose them all, we're guaranteed fifth as long as Orlando wins this game. Win that other one, could get real interesting with Indiana, Washington, and Orlando, because you need all of them to win a game to not split odds. So now we're stuck in a situation where we could have possibly won or we could have indeed won the the San Antonio Spurs game and still easily been guaranteed fifth. Now we are stuck in a position where we almost have to lose that game. May have to rest sharp for that one as well. That could be an epic game where two teams just do not want to put the ball in the basket. I mean, obviously the players do, but. All right, so we're going to sim the lottery. I won't be able to show it on the screen, but I'll just scroll up and let you guys know. At 14, we got Utah Jazz from Minnesota, who is now on the outside of the playoffs unless they win a couple playing games. At 13, we got Atlanta. At number 12, we have Chicago's pick going to Orlando. Remember when Chicago was fighting with us for like the 6th pick a couple weeks ago? Now they're all the way up to 12th in the lottery standings. That's why it's good that the Blazers have lost so many games. At 11, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder. At 10, we have Dallas. And that probably be good news for Dallas because that means they get to keep a top 10 pick instead of finishing 11th and giving that to New York. At number 9, we have the Washington Wizards, which means Utah's own pick. So they get rewarded by kind of not going for the playoffs here at the end of the year, and they move into the top 4 and have a chance at Wembanyama. All right. And then at number 8, we have the Indiana Pacers falling one spot to that 8th position. At number 7, we have the Orlando Magic. So they fall one spot because of Utah moving up. So if this was the draft lottery, we'd be sitting here. It would be either our pick here at 6, or it would be us moving into the top 4. So at number 6, we have the Charlotte Hornets moving down 2 spots. So that means we moved into the top 4. At number 5 is the Detroit Pistons getting hosed and moving down 4 spots to number 5. So the top 4 teams are Utah, Portland, Houston, and San Antonio in this particular sim. At number 4, we have Houston. Houston moving down 2 spots. They are number 4. At number 3, this team stays right where they're at. San Antonio Spurs are number 3. And that means commercial time. And we got going into commercial break with Lauri Markkanen and Mike Schmitz standing there at the draft lottery waiting to see what pick we had. And they come back from commercial and announce the second pick as the Portland Trailblazers. Meaning the Utah Jazz moved on from one Frenchman last year and get a second Frenchman in Victor Wembanyama. Blazers get the second pick. So yeah, now we can talk about what we do in this situation. Obviously, if the Spurs were willing to give up stuff of value to move from 2 to 3, I think you, or from 3 to 2, I think you would consider it. If Houston or Detroit or Charlotte was willing to give up a ton of assets for moving down a few spots, you still get one of your top 6 players in those scenarios. I think you also have to consider that just to stockpile assets. Maybe pick up some rotational players from some of those teams. And then, yeah, I don't know if that leaves a lot of other trade possibilities there outside of those things. But, yeah, second pick. as disappointing as it would be to not get Wembanyama, I still think it would be good. Obviously, moving up in the draft, I think the likelihood we have a bunch of stuff. So yeah. Um, the last couple years, I believe they've gone to commercial after they've announced 4-3. So I wonder if the Spurs really like one of the Thompson twins at 3, or if they would fall in love with Scoot. And if you could get like number 3 Zach and a future first or something, just for moving back one spot, you still get a guy that's probably a better fit at 3, either in Amen or uh, uh, Brandon Miller. Yeah. Nick, come on, man. Please stop doing trades that are not realistic. Yeah, so someone proposed something in on Discord, um, to it was like if we got the third pick and the Spurs got 6, would you trade down 3 to 6 if we got like Vassell and Collins too? And then I said, well, then take the 6th pick and trade it for um, like trade that in Nurk for like Finney Smith and Claxton or something in number 6. Obviously you'd have to have those teams really be interested in a team that's that high, and then you added like Vassell, Dorian Finney-Smith, um, Collins, and Claxton. That would be an insane haul for getting up there. But I do think moving up into this range does open up a lot of those possibilities. We talked about this a lot last year too. Whereas if you fall to 6 or 7, you'd still probably trade that pick, but it just doesn't have the same value. Yeah, would we call Joe a genius? Yeah, probably not good enough to pull that off, unfortunately. But yeah, Wampet Gaming, we've had enough in this stream alone to probably close the awards down. But Kyle, it's because it's the same person just under a different name that thinks he knows everything. So yeah, it's annoying. And then he blames us for not allowing differing opinions when he's like, I know it and you guys don't, blah, blah, blah. How is that allowing differing opinions? AJ just he asked, would I rather draft Miller or trade down for Jarris and future assets? It just totally depends on what teams are there. Like I said, maybe after the actual lottery happens, we'll know a lot more. But yeah, it definitely depends on what those future assets are. And not just getting future assets, but you also have to get something in that trade that allows you to make a deal using those future assets. Because we could have, 20 first round picks like the Thunder or whatever, but if we don't have the ability to even match salary in a big trade, without trading like a star or something, or Sharp or Ant or whatever, like that makes it harder to make those moves. So not only do we need assets, but we need to have a follow-up way to use those assets. And that's why I got so mad about the second round pick crap about, oh, second round picks are going to be more valuable than James Wiseman. Well, no, because you don't have anything to attach to those second round picks. They call me Juicy. Nope. Never emailed us, never verified who he was. So, yeah. think the lottery is May 16th, if I'm not mistaken. So, um, I know Tori doesn't want to have a be live for that, but I'm thinking about being on location somewhere if people want to join me for that, depending on if the places I'm looking at have good enough Wi-Fi to stream, and I can rent out a room or just have that room for a while. So if you guys want to join me and have a party on lottery night, and kind of during a live stream. No, we're live streaming the lottery. I'm saying Tori doesn't want to be on location for it. But yeah, I know you'll be there in spirit, Mary. So somewhere the last few years, my fantasy football drafts, we've had this one particular league I'm in has it at like the round table pizza clubhouses have like a room you can just, you don't even have to pay for it. You just have a room with TVs, and it's you, as long as you claim it before anyone else does, you get the room for, you know, however long you need it. So I was thinking about doing that. The only problem is it's like limited to like 20 people or something. So would have to kind of limit how many people could come, or actually if more than 20 people come, like not everyone could be in the room, I guess. But it might be kind of fun just to have like a small group to go all crazy with or be bummed together, and then eat some pizza and, you know, have some drinks or whatever during the game, pizza party up. You know, something like that. That's just kind of what I'm thinking about doing. Then Tori could be running the stream from his house or whatever. But negative people can stay outside. Yeah. Yep. Are we getting a lottery stream? Yes, Tyler. I just answered that. We are doing a live stream during the lottery. You can go back and watch our one from last year, see our disappointment. Mine a few seconds before Tori because we didn't have it synced right. But yeah, we definitely will have a show during the lottery to see what pick we are, and then of course, if we get the number one pick, we'll probably um, can I not? Thank you to whoever took care of that. For some reason, it's not letting me delete anybody. Um, yeah. So, um, the problem with doing a live draft show is we'd have to have a place where we could be there for like 6 or 7 hours, and a lot of those places, that's a long time for people to be there to rent out a room or whatever. So maybe it works out at Alberta Abbey again for the draft, or to do something like that sometime. But it's just tough to ask those places to allow us to use their place for that long. So usually draft shows are a little easier to do just like this. Yep. Hey Taylor, I noticed you back in chat. Did you have a message attached to your donation earlier? Because there wasn't one on my end. Oh great, this is my chat messed up. Yeah, Todd, Magic are up 20 in the fourth, so hopefully they don't blow that. Will Nix asks, if we get Wimby, how long realistically can we truly contend? I mean, how long until we can contend, or how long would our window be open? Because I think it would be open like an insane amount of time, like 12 years, if we kept Anthony and Sharp for post Dame, and then had Dame, mentoring the young guys through his waning years or whatever. Uh, so yeah, but yeah, I think it would be. I mean, obviously you have to make other moves too. Not just getting Wimby is enough. I mean, I think it's enough to obviously put us comfortably in the playoffs. But but yeah, um, I think if you make a couple smart moves, pick up some vets, because you wouldn't need too many more young guys. You already have an insane young core. So I think you pick up some young players or some veteran players to help out the young guys. As long as you sign the right guys and make some other good moves with your other picks, um, I think you're basically one move away from contending as long as you make a good deal at the deadline or something. But yeah, I think it would be relatively quickly. Nick Thompson says, "How about trading for Jonathan Isaac?" Yeah, let's trade for someone who's played what, like 5 games in 3-4 years. That's good suggestion. No, I'm not trading for Jonathan Isaac. Maybe if you could sign him for the minimum, you take a chance on someone like that. But yeah, uh, Nick, he's 7'5" with shoes on, so it's like 7'3", 7'4". But we'll get an official measurement hopefully at the combine. Can you run a in real life Blazers Uprise show just with 3G and no Wi-Fi? Um, Wi I don't think it would be consistent enough. I mean, you could probably pull it off for a little bit, but I think over the course of several hours it would not be good. Pacey Zach, we talked about Nas Reed earlier in the show. I don't know. He's probably going to get at least the MLE, if not more. Tough to know what teams would be interested in. All right, I've been live for a little over 2 hours. Blazers win tonight. Sharp has 27. Knox comes off the bench and scores 19 on 8 of 15 shooting. Looked pretty impressive on some of his drives. Uh, Skylar Mays, 13 and 9. Really nice game from him. Just young guys just stuck around, and Minnesota didn't put them away. They were up 12 at one point, couldn't get it done. And fortunately, Blazers get the W, but hoping we look back on this game as a positive that the young guys pulled it off, because if this ended up costing us Wemby or a 10.5% chance at Wemby or whatever, that's going to be very frustrating this offseason to cope with that. But yeah, overall, shouldn't affect things as long as the Blazers don't win another game. Even if they win one more, they should be okay, but never know. But anyways, thank everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Bet Online for presenting this post game show. And yeah, go bet on Bet Online if you like gambling, and use that code BLEAV BLEAV for a 50% reward bonus. And really appreciate you guys all sticking out with me doing the solo stream. Appreciate Tori for the opportunity to do it solo. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day, depending on where you're at. And yeah, we'll catch you next time on Blazers Uprise. When will that be? We won't have a show tomorrow. Let me just update that real quick. No show tomorrow because there's no NBA games because of the national championship. So now that it's the last week of the season for picks against the spread, we'll have 2 shows on Tuesday, one around 3:30 with, I believe there's like 11 to 13 games on Tuesday. So a big game for picks against the spread as we come down to the end. And then we'll, of course, have the post-game show after the Blazer game. And then we'll probably talk a little bit about the CBA on one of those live shows, either Tuesday or Friday. We have another. We're instead of Thursday this week, we're going Tuesday, Friday. And then we'll have post-game shows on Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we're into the off season, if you can believe it. 1 week from today, off season. We'll just be talking nothing but a lot of this stuff we talked about in this stream. So hope to see you all on both streams on Tuesday. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.